chair or a certain hat or a certain something. So I use my body. Unless they think you're crazy, and you can get there as much as you can to do what you're going to do. When you're teaching class.
Difficult. I'm kind of undergraduate in academic library. Don't forget from an academic library.
Oh, I think people have done it. I think people have done both for years. Sometimes out of necessity and some or don't either as a volunteer or as a
Hey, I apologize, but our time is up on this session. If I can explain what we're going to do now. First of all, I cannot thank enough our panelists. Again, can we give them a round of applause for their time? Now, with that being said, I still need the panelists to help us out because we're now into the resume consultation time. So if you flip your agenda over for the resume reviewers, we kind of put you throughout the building. Okay, so Beth, you get Clara's office, so you get the penthouse suite down the hall here. Carol, you get 458, which is just down the hall, the conference room. Dennis, you'll also be with Carol in 458 for some of your resume consultations. And then Kathy, Lori, and Mary, you'll be down right beneath us in 301, the same size conference room. So, and for all the students, please note your time. And the front desk here has noted those that have not shown up, and so therefore some of your times may be moved up so that our resume reviewers can see you early. Okay, so thank you again so much. Now, for those of you that are not doing resume consultation, we've got a great coming up. Again, we have the International Resume One that's joining us online. So for those of you that does not have a resume consultation, go ahead and get something to eat, come back in, and we'll start that session. Okay?
I would have to charge
She's right over there by the door. In the glass. I think I'm your first person, so I think I'm right after you.
So you get to basically say your same people.
I'll probably be working on Saturday night right now.
That's the point.
Yeah, we just got any longer and major budget cuts and they can't do it.
Yeah.
It must be going on.
Absolutely. That's the positive thing. Is this
The original schedule, we had started at 12. Oh, I forgot the child.
I didn't know.
Oh, that one. So you were at 2.
Yeah, I think I have made mistakes.
That's what I get for putting out the other one.
Oh, yeah.
You did get rid of it. recent professional panel discussion.
Oh, okay.
Chrissy's up front there. And Lauren?
You're moving back a little bit. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Tell Amy, and you know, I know yeah, I've almost felt like okay, guys.
Good, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's just filling out.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They look very sharp. That'll be
Hey, Becky. Can she hear me?
Oh, we can't hear you.
any sound? Oh, well, it's already set to PC. Are you, I mean, the laptop? Okay, yeah, that's right. Let's go back to the
That's what I'm afraid of.
Did it
It's good, they don't
They don't
take these.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm confused because if this is considered one, my resume consultation is supposed to be 12:30.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if it was supposed to move me in.
Really designed it for you guys to be here and then resume. Yeah, absolutely. Technology is always adding. Yeah. You know, something that I've learned is if you go to and make sure that it's simple to use, it usually works. Or Skype. Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've had two warnings that can't connect.
Yeah, okay. I recognize your name.
Individual.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I don't want to talk.
All right. As we're running low on time, what we're going to do is begin this session. We have two online folks, one from Ron, Jordan, and the other one a little closer in Charlotte, North Carolina, who are online, and you saw them, but we couldn't hear them. So they will be popping up shortly. But with that being said, we'll start with the panel that are here. So I think probably the best thing to do is just have you introduce yourself. And the first topic is really introduce yourself and your general job duties. Obviously, if it doesn't apply, and it's kind of you're looking to get job duties, then go ahead and speak to that as well. So Heather, go ahead.
I'm Heather Smith. I'm currently working for an attorney in Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, she's in Kings Mountain, North Carolina, but I do my work from home for her doing legal research, and I volunteer for Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. And I'm currently undergoing the interview process, trying to get a full-time job because the job of the attorney is just part-time work.
And Heather, you graduated?
I graduated December 2009.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy Peasy. I actually just graduated this past December in 2011. I was a Charlotte student, and I currently am employed at Queen's University in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm within patron services, so what that entails, basically, I cover the help desk, which is a combination of the reference desk and the circulation desk, so I do a lot. And I also tag team with our technology librarian on the social media for Everett Library.
I'm Lauren Wallace. I am currently a student here and currently going through the job search process and having recurring nightmares about job searching, so that's what I'm doing.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Smith, and I'm currently the Artifacts, Textiles, and Digital Projects archivist over at Jackson Library. And not only do I take care of the artifacts, textiles, and the historic photographs, but I also supervise student workers and volunteers and do reference for special collections.
All right, great. And we'll again invite the online folks in when they come back up. All right. So in general, this is a general question. The rest of them with general questions for the panel. Describe your job-seeking process, including any interviews or potential interviews, Lauren hinted, that you may want to discuss. And this is a general question to the panel.
Oh, okay. I'll take it. I'll go first. I don't stick to one specific place when I look for my jobs. I'll look in a lot of places, online especially. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of I Need a Library Job, but you should all really look into it. INeedALibraryJob.com. It's a librarian, her name is Naomi. She puts out a daily publication that gives the opportunity for library jobs all over the world. Literally all over the world. And it's updated daily, except for the weekends. So I strongly suggest that you all look into that and just see what's out there. Also, just websites, Indeed.com, which updates daily, has great opportunities for librarians. If you just type in the word library or librarian, it's kind of almost like a Google search. It's pretty simple as far as navigation is concerned. And I try to, even though I focus in instructional technologies and I am really into instruction, I try to keep my options open too, so that's something that you should remember is keep your options open, because once you get into a position, there's always room to grow, hopefully.
I've been really looking for about 7 months now for a full-time opportunity, and just recently I decided, well, this isn't working out for me, so I changed my resume and added the skills section, and I've had 3 interviews in the past 3 weeks, so and I'm currently waiting on word from the last one. Keep fingers crossed for me.
Yeah, right.
But the skills section seems to be a really important portion that, unfortunately, Dr. Monette has neglected to mention in my administration.
If I can add to that, under your skills section, if you've taken the web class with Dr. Chow, stick in HTML and CSS. People are going to love that. Are you serious? They're going to love it. If you've made LibGuides, you obviously have had some experience with SpringShare LibGuides. Throw that in there too, because a lot of especially if you're academic, a lot of academic libraries are going to want people who have experience using LibGuides, using instructional technologies, and using that kind of thing. So make sure if you have experience with it, put it in your skills section on your resume or CV.
And do the same thing, and move it up. It's so amazing how many resumes you'll see, and the skills section is buried somewhere under membership. And people want to see that, so move it up, get on your first page or your higher on your second page, you should.
And I think it's helpful to have someone who knows you and knows what you've done, maybe a professor, look over, especially that skills section, and say, hey, you've also created a tutorial or something. Like, I think it's easy to sort of forget what you've done or not point out like the details, which can be really helpful, especially on that skills section.
And make sure too, there's nothing wrong with updating your resume, on a good basis. Keeping it the same all the time, you really shouldn't do. Every time something changes, or if you use a new technology, or if something you've added, or if you're in a part-time job somewhere and you've started doing something new in your part-time job, add that into your resume. Don't keep it stagnant. Continually update it.
Also, to continue, even as students, take webinars, go to conferences, take things that you can add them to your resume, because people will consider that. If you've gone above and beyond, and not only are taking classes, but you've gone outside, perhaps of school, to take classes on something, or webinars, seminars, on something that is not offered, that looks good. That counts as kind of continuing education.
It'd be interesting if we were made to create like an e-portfolio when we start the program, so that we can add things, because you can't really remember what you did your first year, or what webinars you've taken, or anything like that. And that's something that we could continually update, and professors can tell us, this is a skill that you can add on your resume, and then put that on like an e-portfolio or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. We tend to do that on the back end, as far as custom portfolio, but that is a good idea.
Because I'm convinced that people know they need us, they just don't know that they need us, and the only way they're going to know is through our skills. They're going to say, I don't need a librarian. But I do need someone that can find this information for me.
That's a good point. All right, are we online?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, unfortunately, it's
Ben, I guess I'll get closer here.
Yeah.
Becky, can you hear us?
I don't think she can. We don't, this machine doesn't have a microphone.
No, very nice. All right.
We'll have to.
Well, we'll chat it then. Just ask her to introduce herself and discuss her general experience with looking for jobs and the interview process.
Could you use the microphone on the earbuds?
She probably doesn't know what whether she's just.
Here, can we use that as a microphone?
You guys,
No, like, could you use it as a microphone? Could you plug it into that computer?
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. My name is Becky Croxton. I currently live in Charlotte, and I work part-time at 2 college campuses. I work part-time at Central Piedmont Community College, and also I work part-time at Johnson & Wales University Library. I graduated in December 2010, and I've had those 2 part-time jobs for a while, even before I graduated. At Johnson & Wales, I was actually hired as a part-time librarian before my graduation. I came upon that opportunity as a result of a successful internship through UNCG and good timing, just a coincidental good timing. At Central Piedmont Community College, I've been working there for 3 years. For the first couple of years, I was a part-time library assistant, and then once I graduated, I was moved into a part-time librarian role. And while I like both of those jobs, my desire is to still find a full-time librarian position in the academic library. And the market in Charlotte has been very tight for library jobs, public, special libraries, and academic libraries, all 3. And so I've been keeping my ears out, looking for positions. However, I've only seen 3 positions for which I wanted to apply in the last year. That's how tight things are. And finally, I'm now interviewing for 2 positions concurrently at 2 academic situations here in Charlotte. So my recommendation as far as looking for work is, looking for the ads online is good, but for both of these positions for which I'm currently interviewing for, I actually knew about those positions and knew people within those institutions even before they were posted. I had heads up from library insiders in each of those situations, and have had an opportunity to network with those people, present in front of those people, put myself out there long before the positions were open, and I think that is really perhaps what set me apart in many ways from other people who've just submitted their application online. If you just submit your application online or in paper through the mail, you're sometimes a name lost among many. But if you've had a chance to chat with people, shake their hands, introduce yourself, even sit down one-on-one, I do think that gives you an edge up in giving yourself an extra opportunity to perhaps be invited for an interview. I think I'll stop there and see what else comes up.
All right. Well, let me just say that you probably can't hear me, but Becky actually impressed an individual in an environment like this. And so I think what she's talking about, and I'm intimately familiar with her process as I'm a player in the process, I think what she's talking about, again, is the networking aspect that pays dividends maybe further down the road. Okay, so when we talk about networking, in Becky's case, these are relationships that she formed at an event like this. They remembered her. The name became familiar. Obviously, she's worked part-time or volunteered, and the name, once the market started opening up and these positions started opening up, she became an inside candidate. Does that make sense? So, again, she's a perfect example of, feast or famine. So she's waiting, and now she's got 2 interview positions, or positions for interviews where she's a finalist, and it's looking good. So, all right. So, tell us a little bit more about the application process. Give us some words of wisdom that you are practicing or have learned in the process.
Actually, I have another job too. I've got an evening librarian position at Salem College, and both my position at UNCG and Salem, I was in before I graduated. And for the reference librarianship in Salem, I was already volunteering as an evening reference librarian. I lived in Old Salem, so it was an easy fit. And the minute I graduated, much to my surprise, they came up and said, "Okay, well, we'll hire you now." And I was stunned, but and happy, and I just kind of kept on doing it because it's a nice little kind of evening thing to do a couple of days a week, and it gives me a whole other skill set that I'm doing now. And I was also in the Special Collections and University Archives before I got a job there I did my internship there, practiced from there, I volunteered, independent study. I basically really liked it there, and I don't know whether it's just good timing or stubbornness and tenaciousness. I just stuck it out and thought I really want to work here, and something came open, and it was a mixture of determination and good timing that I stood right in, because I could basically say when they took the job opportunity to the public, I was the best candidate because I knew the material. I mean, I was, unless they wanted something completely different with 10 years of experience I didn't have, I was valuable because I was already there.
I think to make sure that you use your networking resources, those people that you meet at NCLA, those people that you meet at conferences, if you're volunteering, make sure that you use them, when it comes to the job application process. Specifically, if, you met somebody that, is higher up in admin at the public library that you just put your application into, make sure that you get in contact with them because they'll remember you. And then make sure that you always follow up with your references. There's no doubt in my mind that through the application process, 3 references is pretty much the minimum in what they're going to ask of you. So make sure that you follow up with those references. Your references know what job that you are applying for, if you're applying for one or if you're applying for 20. So that they know, if they get a phone call out of the blue from Dr. So-and-so that you applied for this job at this library at this university, they're not like completely taken off guard. That they're like, oh, well, I've got to come up with something on the fly for her right away. Some places will ask that you submit a letter of recommendation to them beforehand through the application process, which is another reason why you should make sure that you follow up with them and make sure that everybody's up to date, that they have a copy of the job description to which the job you're applying for, and a copy of your current resume or CV.
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, thanks for staying since this chair's as far as volunteer work, one thing that I've learned that is really great is since the economy is in such dire straits, the doors are really wide open for whatever you want to do. And that's even outside of the library. For instance, I volunteered as a teaching assistant for the history department. So whatever you want to do that you think you can do as a librarian, if you know people, you should just start asking around. And it doesn't guarantee it or anything. If you know Spanish right now and you volunteered as a foreign language instructor or tutor for a college and on some sort of level, that's going to look great. So there's definitely a lot more, because the economy is bad as graduate students, we've just got a lot more opportunities we can kind of grab and network with, is what I've learned.
And I know that some of us are really interested in staying in this particular geographical location, so the networking and the knowing people and getting in on the ground floor is really helpful. But if any of you, I'm applying widely, and I think some of you may be doing that as well. And so when you can't, when you're applying to a position across the country and you can't, just go over and introduce yourself or volunteer or something, I think something that's really helpful to do is just to figure out who's on the search committee, figure out who's in charge of the department you're applying to, and then just internet stalk them as much as you can. Figuring out articles they've written, what they're really interested in. I've been able to go in and type in the head of the reference and instruction department and find 20 PowerPoint sheets presented, and then you know what their passion is, and you can drop that into the cover letter. And so that's another way to sort of get to know people without really getting to know them. I think that's been really helpful, and helpful for interviews as well when you get to that stage.
And two, people know people who know people who know people. So don't think that just because you're applying for a job in Kansas that somebody within this department might not know somebody there. So always, follow up with your professors or follow up with somebody because, I'm just going to use Beth for an example. Beth might know somebody that works at a library down in Georgia to which you're applying for a position, and she might be able to put in a good word for you. So that's just another thing. And two, make sure you know about the institution that you're applying about. Know about, the physical aspects of the institution. Know about what they are doing. If there's any, that's really great. Know about that library, or know about that place that you're applying to, and about what they're doing currently. Don't go in there knowing nothing about the place, because when you go in and you know information about it, that to them knows that you are really interested in this position, that you really want this job, that you're not just going in there going, yeah, I think I want the job, but I don't really know, and so, yeah, okay.
That's true even with phone interviews. I've been on several search committees now on the other side, looking for people, and even for faculty positions. And it's amazing that people go to a telephone interview and not have looked at the website. They don't know what our collections are. They can't talk about it, and it becomes very obvious very fast that they just sent out a bunch of resumes and they just happen to get in the pool, and it can cut something off pretty quickly.
And Lauren calls it cyber stalking, but in all seriousness, when someone's done their homework like that and are talking about some of the work you've done, you have to admit it comes across as impressive from your perspective, right? So and Google empowered us to be able to do that, and so there's almost kind of an expectation. you know, in some ways, for the top candidates to have done their homework. And again, when you do it, it may seem like self-serving at the time, but you can see how the other thing too, and you know, those that have taken my class, I preach, you also want to be sure you want to work there too, right? And so you want to know and hear and see what the people that you're working are going to hopefully work for, what they're like. So it's really important. It's important in both ways.
And as old school as this sounds, y'all, a handwritten thank you note goes a long way. For the position that I'm in now, I was the only person that wrote a thank you note, that thanked the person that interviewed me for allowing me to come in and interview for this position. The only person.
And that was true of my job at South Piedmont Community College too. I was the only person that wrote a thank you note for the guy.
And please don't, if you have their physical address, if you know where you can send it, please send a handwritten one. If email is the only thing that you have, you know, dire, like, last resort, fine. But if you, by any means, can send one physically to an address to somebody, 100 times better over sending an email.
Okay, I have a question. I'm graduating in May, and I'm kind of in the process that Lauren's in, is trying to find a job. I don't have the luxury of sitting around and waiting for a perfect job for more than about 2 weeks because I need to pay bills. And so I'm kind of like, I go through these spurts where I'll apply for a ton, even if it's not something that A, I want, or B, am probably even qualified for, and then spurts where I'm like a little more judgmental, and I don't know how to find that balance of I need to find a job and I need to send out a certain amount of applications to make sure I have one, as opposed to just applying for everything across the board that you see because you can and you might as well. Like, how do you find that balance when you need to find a job, but you also need to be a little more reserved about things that you apply for and things you don't?
Let me speak to that real fast. It's really quality over quantity.
Okay.
Is really what you would look at. So in my mind, as they were saying too, and I think we all agree with this, if you can't tell us why this is a really good fit for you, not okay fit or not I'm looking for a job fit, but really it resonates with you, then you're most likely not going to get the job anyway.
Right.
So you've got to think about quality over quantity. If you do too much quantity with not enough quality, then you're in some ways kind of spinning your wheels. I mean, I don't know.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. And make sure that when you write a cover letter too, make sure that your cover letter is telling the person that's reading it why you would be the best candidate for that job, and here's why, and here are the qualifications, and here's how it's going to match. Take your qualifications and match it up with that job description. So don't just go willy-nilly on your cover letter. Make sure that you read through the job description because every single one is not the same. And then you have to change your cover letter up. I mean, you can do some of the things, but change your cover letter up to match some of the job descriptions. You know, this one has, library instruction. Well, I'm familiar with library instruction because X, Y, Z, and here's why I would be the best candidate for it. And make sure that, that they know that in there. That's a good thing. I mean, I hope that kind
Yeah, that does help.
The cover letter is so important. I've sat on search committees where there's certain people that really like, that almost just read the cover letter. The cover letter is the big deal. So make it tight. There's no excuse for typos. Get everybody passing on the street to read your cover letter for you, because you'd be surprised. And especially for librarianship jobs, and most of them you have to have attention to detail. And if you don't have enough attention to detail to send a good cover letter and have a good resume, that's saying something about you.
Now, do you think there's a fine line between being cocky in your resume and but then arguing for yourself? Like, is there...
Be confident in yourself.
Yeah.
Just be confident. Be confident. That's,
okay.
Being confident in your cover letter can go a long way. I mean, being cocky, I think, would draw the line of, you should give me this job because I'm awesome, or because I would be the best librarian, I'm awesome, give me this job. But that's the cocky thing. Being confident in yourself and telling people, my skills would be great at this job because they match up with these job descriptions, is not being cocky, it's being confident about yourself. So don't forget that, okay?
Okay, so it's okay to argue for yourself.
Right. This is about marketing.
It is.
It's a highly competitive job market out there, and what you're doing is you're marketing yourself.
Well, I would say it's not just about arguing for yourself. It's really about what Dennis Fry said, was exactly right. What have you done to demonstrate to us that you are a good fit? So when you say cocky, or you don't want to argue for yourself, and you don't want to be cocky, because the other thing too is your cover letter is like a table of contents, right? And therefore, you don't want in the table of contents the whole book. We just need to know real quickly at a glance, am I going to read your resume? That's what you really want. You want a table of contents with the keywords that says, read on, read on, read on. So, I'm sorry.
No, it's not trying to be self-depreciating. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
you know, it's like, I would like this job, but if there's someone else better, that's okay too. No. You know. I think a lot of times we tend to be, you know, a little bit shy about putting out exactly who we are. And if you've done it and you did a good job, put it down.
I've definitely had trouble with using like wishy-washy language in my cover letters, and I think Nora was saying earlier that all librarians are ex-English teachers, and I'm a retired English major, so I've had my English major friends read it, and they're like, you need a better rhetorical stance in the paragraph. So get an English major to read. But another good way to make it like quality to like really, I think story, like telling
Hey,
stories
sorry,
is
I didn't
helpful.
realize it was my turn.
One other thing.
Just hold on to it.
Also, saying something specific about the university or the library, I think really, really helps. Like something like, I saw this really cool tutorial you have on your website, and it shows that you're invested.
But using even just simple things like using the name of the library and using the name of the university, or using the name of, you know, the public library that you're applying to, or special library, using the name in the cover letter shows that you're interested. I mean, it shows the interest. So don't generalize it too much. Make it a little specific.
And you make it flat, not have something they want. Maybe you're a perfect candidate for everything, but you just don't know one thing. Be sure to say you're either a quick learner, or don't spin it like if they ask you a question, no, I just can't. I mean, you know, I may not have had experience with that, but spin it positive. But this is what I have done, and kind of get it into a more positive spot. And a lot of times, don't be afraid to apply to things where you may not feel like you're exactly at the skill level if you really want it, because sometimes it becomes about fit. If they get you in for an interview and you just seem great and you get along with everybody at the table, you've got a good chance just because you seem like you'll fit with the group. And that's more important than I would have imagined it to be.
All right, we'll have Becky online.
Here we go.
Hey there, it's Becky again. So the question is, how do you sell yourself in an interview? I've got several ideas. At least I can tell you the way I've been going about things. I've been interviewing in academic libraries, and typically when you interview in an academic library, at least by the second round, you're asked to give a presentation, like to teach an online class or present some research. And so, for example, for an interview I have coming up, I've been asked to give a sample class, and fortunately I was given a topic that usually makes things a little easier. And so first I developed a library guide. For those of you who may not be familiar with academic librarianship today, library guides, LibGuides is actually what they're called, it's an online software developed by SpringShare, in which you can put together a whole package of information for students, such as suggested books, articles, tutorials, etc. So for this class I'm preparing for to give in my interview, I've created a library guide based on a particular assignment, in which again I've recommended books, articles. I've created an online video tutorial about how a person can search multiple database or multiple articles at one time in a particular database, because this is something that the assignment would call for. Basically pulling out all the stops, all the tricks I can think of that I learned in library school and on the job to showcase my skills. In addition to the library guide, you know, as part of your experiences at UNCG Library School, you're asked to create a capstone portfolio, and I have kept careful track of my capstone to this day, even though it's been a little over a year. I continue to update it frequently and share it with prospective employers and discuss it in the interview as well, people continue to give me high praise on the portfolio. You know, like I said, I've carefully put it together, and even though it's a year old, it's still very appropriate to share. You know, I put in all of the things I want to showcase, such as websites I've designed, online video tutorials, my resume, etc. And I've received many compliments from these prospective employers. With regard to the interview, you know, I have heard a suggestion that I continue to follow today, and it's called the STAR interview technique. And I think, regardless of the interview style that is being asked of you in your interview, the STAR interview technique, and it's a behavioral interview, you should Google it before you have an interview. It asks you to think of specific situations you've had or tasks, the action you took, and the response. And then in the behavioral interview, it's really important to use specific instances that you can share to tell about how you've dealt with situations. You know, some people will tell you in advance we're going to use the STAR technique and others won't, but it's a good rule of thumb to present your situations in that order anyway. Again, the situation or task, the action, and the response. Other than that, you know, practice, relax, and just be friendly and conversational. Just be yourself. You know, you're going to have to work with these people for hopefully years to come, so there's no need to put on a false pretense. Just be who you are, and hopefully they'll like you. I think I'll stop there.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts on the panel? All right, so the second to last question is, what advice would you give to, and of course there are some students that aren't as far along or as yourself, but what kind of advice would you give to current students in preparation for their futures?
One thing I would like to share is, in my classes, Julie Hirschberger that I took in my last semester, was information services to diverse client groups, and we were supposed to design a service to deliver to students or patrons. And I designed the service, but I was also in a situation where I could actually deliver that service. And I took my project that next step, and I actually delivered the service that I designed. And I know that led to my job at South Piedmont, which I got just months after graduating. I got that job in February 2010. I graduated in December 2009. So if you take something just one step further, and you're able to share that in an interview or on your resume that you've designed and implemented this program and delivered it, and that goes a long way to an employer.
I think service is also really important, especially if you're applying to academic library jobs, showing that you are involved in the field and invested in it already. Shameless plug, it'd be really great to get involved with LISA if you're not already. So it's just, I mean, I think that on my resume has definitely been a good thing, just because it shows, like, you're not just like, yeah, maybe I'll be a librarian. You're like, I want to be, you know, in a professional conversation starting from the minute, you know, I'm training to be a librarian. So.
To add to that, it's never too early to get involved with professional organizations. Never, ever, ever, ever. So, you know, if you're not already, go ahead and get involved with LISA, get involved with NCLA, get involved with ALA as a student. If you are thinking about academic, get involved with ACRL, get involved with LEDA if you are thinking about technology. It's never too early to do student membership.
Hey there. So the question is, what advice do I have for students? Well, that's a good question. My advice to you while you're going through library school is to try to come up. Oops, hold on a second. I'm on pause.
Go ahead, Grace. Okay.
That's all right.
So like I said, it's really never too early to start getting involved with this professional organization because if not the majority, but all of them have a student rate. I know that as graduate students, or y'all as graduate students, I shouldn't say that anymore. Not a graduate student anymore. Y'all, money's a little tight, so, but, the majority of them do have student rates. So, look into that and keep in close contact with all of your professors from LIS because they can help you just close contact goes a long way too. Okay.
Well done. Before she goes, another thing I would say too is remember your faculty can support you in your area of interest as well. Okay, so we get a lot of reference checks, and it certainly helps if we have a background in the area that you're applying for, because certainly all of the work that we've done and what we're known for, when we say good things about you, it helps as well. So you want to be thinking about the faculty that you're working with too, right? So certainly many of you have done research with me or something different, so I get to know you better too, and obviously it allows me to speak very more highly of you if I've worked with you in that capacity. So you want to think strategically too with the faculty that you're working with and the ones that you list as references, because arguably you want them in the area of your specialty, and certainly then we can speak to your behalf with the level of authenticity.
Because more than likely, at least one of your references is going to be, if you're applying straight out of school,
expectation, yeah.
It's going to be one of your professors. It's going to be one of your references, more than likely.
And again, you've heard this before, even if we're not, they may ask us anyway. An email may come and say, what about the student?
I think I'm on live, hopefully so. My advice to students, okay, great. My advice to you guys as you're going through library school and finishing up is to do your best on every assignment. People really, they do take notice, and it can benefit you in the end because many of your assignments you'll actually include on your capstone portfolio. And again, I said, I share that with all prospective employers, and I've had interviews before where some of the employers have actually read my papers, and we've had conversations about them. So do not take the work on your papers lightly, and do have the confidence to share them. My second point of advice is to keep fresh with your technology skills even after graduation. For example, Dr. Chow and I continue to work on several projects, and there's been a couple of opportunities where I've worked with some local nonprofits or smaller organizations, helping them analyze or update their web pages. And, I didn't always know the answers to how to do this at first, but there, where there's a will, there's a way. And it allowed me to keep my technology skills, my web design skills fresh, and help others in the meantime. Third is I recommend while you're in school and even when you graduate to attend those local library conferences. Attend them, and even I encourage you to participate as a student presenter. For example, at NCLA, while I had just finished grad school, I presented what do you call that?
Poster.
A poster presentation of some work I had done. I did that on my own, and it took a lot of courage because I'd never done that on my own, but I was really glad that I did. I also had the opportunity to present a poster session with Dr. Chow at the UNCG Ideals Conference about a year ago. And again, it just puts you out there, gets you talking about what you're up to with professionals, and it gives you something nice to put on your resume or your curriculum vitae. I think my final piece of suggestion is to align yourself with a mentor. I chose Dr. Chow for my mentor, and he has taken me a long way. Someone that you can connect with, someone that maybe you can share research interests with and pursue publication, and someone who can just give you some sound advice about what it's like out there in the world and give you the courage to go for what you hope to achieve. I think I'll stop there.
All right, well then the final question. what would you have done differently if you were a student, if you had to go back and do it again? We'd love to have you back. What would you have done differently, more of, less of?
Don't be afraid of the hard professors. I waited too late to find out about Dr. Hirschberger. And people try to steer me off of Dr. Chow too. But those were my best classes. It was Hirschberger and Dr. Chow and Dr. Bird. And you hear, but when you hear the students saying that person's hard, take that person.
If you have an opportunity to do a poster presentation or present at a conference, even if it's here at Ideals or if it's at NCLA or if it's at Metro Atlanta or if it's somewhere local or if it's at launch up at Chapel Hill, do it and do it early. Because I cannot tell you how much it looks good on your resume or on your website if you're using a website. If you're using, sorry, shameless little plug. If you're doing that, you can put that on there as an area of presentations and publications. Publish if you can. Present if you can. Even if it's tiny, it's still a presentation and it's still a publication. It doesn't matter. If you can go to conferences, especially national conferences like ALA, even if it's midwinter, if you can't always go to the one that's in the summer, do it. Or like Lauren's doing, student staff. If you can get in there, if you can do that, if you can do emerging leaders, apply. The worst they're going to say is sorry, not right now. You know, that's the worst. Apply. That's all. I wish I had done that.
Yeah, I wish I had been more aggressive about, because you have so little time, really. It's just 2 years and it goes by so quickly. And I think when I first came in, I was like, I don't know, like, nobody cares what I have to say. I'm new, But if you just get in there and you're like, yeah, I have something good to say, and you admit, I would second the posters and presentations. And also, I really wish I'd made better use of last summer. Some people, I know take longer, but I just had one summer in between the 2 years, and I wish I had done an internship, or I tried to volunteer at some places that didn't really work out. I wish I'd had like a really good thing while I had that time, and just kind of a rest to have another, put another thing on my CV.
I did do a practicum, but do a practicum if you can. I mean, because A, you're going to get credit for it, so it's going to go towards the courses, and B, you're getting yourself out there in an institution or a public library or a special library. So do a practicum. Do it. Do it. Just do it.
Any questions?
If you are a student and you do go to ALA midwinter, I suggest it. I went. Dallas isn't the friendliest place to be ever, but if you go as a student, they get really impressed because they don't have a lot of students speak back for midwinter. Those are usually like career level librarians. So you get like, unlike annual where you're pretty much just overwhelmed by people, and the people who can give jobs are overwhelmed by people, it's a lot more individualized. So if you can find a way to go, it's worth it.
And two, the branch offs, like ACRL has, if you're interested in academic libraries at all, ACRL, they do have conferences as well. So if you're not into going to ALA in general, you can always look into ACRL because they just had one in Philadelphia not too long ago. So do that too. Look into that.
I found local, smaller conferences to be less intimidating to start out with, and I've done some stuff with NC-BIG, the instruction group of NCLA, and that's been really helpful. It's not like going, I was at ALA over the summer, and I was like, I don't even know where to begin. And this thing is at 13 different hotels. So, one that's in one or two rooms can be a lot easier to start out with.
My final bit of advice would be put that volunteer experience on as your work experience. Don't bury it down in a volunteer section. Otherwise, they're not going to look at it.
Sure, absolutely. And before Becky goes, just to build on some of the comments here, I think Becky mentioned it too. Again, Becky mentioned how her portfolio has gotten a lot of rave reviews, and so I'm happy to say I was her supervisor over her capstone portfolio. But in the end, every project that you do in your classes can become work product. Okay, and actually Lauren's the same thing. I don't know if I shared the story with you, but bottom line, she has some work product that I could immediately send to the folks that were asking me about her, and again, they were very impressed. So it's one of those things where when you're looking for a job and you've got interviews, I mean, it moves like that, right? And the people that have things that are perfectly aligned with what they're looking for will give you that edge. So your work, do it well. You don't want to have to redo it. I know many of you have done library administrator YouTube videos for me. If you don't like what you did, then just slightly redo it, but use it. Because, again, when you talk about library administration, you talk about how libraries work, why do you think people are impressed with that? Why do you think employers might be impressed to hear your thoughts on how a library works? Your library users, but more importantly, you're showing them you actually know how a library works, and you've actually talked to another library administrator about it, which then it gives you some example of the fact that you really do know what you're talking about, right? And that's huge, because everybody says they know what they're talking about. It'd be wonderful if you actually hear it. So anyway.
Hey there, I guess I'm on. What do I wish I would have done differently as a student? You know, I worked really hard while I was a student. I was really proud of what I have accomplished. However, while I was in classes and through the program, I wish I would have taken advantage of some of those suggestions that came through on email about submitting articles for student publication. In academic librarianship, it seems to really matter to people if you're continuing to write and try to publish. And I do have a publication coming out actually next week or the week after that I co-authored with Dr. Chow as a result of a intensive research study. But there are other papers that I really wish I would have taken the time to submit to a student journal. So. And in addition, I wish I would have put myself out there in some of those local conferences to do a poster session or collaborate with somebody to present an in-person session, a live, I can't think what you call that, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I wish I would have put myself out there as a student presenter in more conferences just so people had a chance to see who I am and what I'm all about, and to meet other professionals in the field. Networking seems to go a long way in this field. I think that's it for now.
All right, any questions final questions for the panelists? All right, well, let me conclude by, again,
I would like to say, once you finish, that Ken Cozell was having troubles with Illuminate. He's here on Skype. So please, come over here and ask him some questions. He's dialed in from Oman, Jordan, and he's done some interesting work. So once he gets through, come over here and we can talk to you.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, last word of advice I would give is, it does seem overwhelming when we say do this and do that, and join this and join that. And I guess in my mind, the most important reason why is it's not only sharing your passion with others, but it's honing your elevator pitch, right? So for example, no, it takes a lot of work, but like most artworks, it takes a lot of time and effort. By talking about what you believe in and what you're about, what your interests are, you kind of refine them every time you do it, right? And you want that elevator pitch to be pristine by the time you get to the application interview process. So go out there, network, hear what other people are doing, certainly adopt words or things about your area that you think are cool, right? And again, by getting out there, it really hones your the way where you contribute in the field and how you talk about how you contribute. So I know it seems overwhelming, but do it. Get out there. The more you do it, the better refined you're going to be when it really matters. Because again, we all know when we network, sometimes we say stupid stuff like, I cannot believe I just said that. But you probably will never see them again, right? But when you go to the interview process and things like that, obviously you want to be at the top of your game. All right, with that being said, as many of you as you can, please stay, because we're going to break out in the round table similar to last time. And I guess we can either, we can move that laptop to a table here so you can meet Ken. Again, many of our panelists have very interesting things to say and share. I really suggest you pick their brains about things that they've done. All right? And then please remember, if you have resume reviews, to monitor your time on the back here, and then please do come back and join us when you're done. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys.
Hi, Dan. Come here. Yeah, this sounds good. I'm Beth. We're getting this. I'm setting you up in the middle of the table. People are going to start asking you questions. No. This is Ken. I'm going to let him tell you about what he does. He's in Lamar, Georgia. He's doing some incredible stuff. People will be dropping by.
I never heard all the
Just a little thing, yeah, we can start doing, start messing around with posters, I think.
We're gonna try to figure it out.
I'm trying our life, or maybe group project, or even something to do a poster.
Definitely, yeah.
We figure we should get something else.
Go ahead and just sit down wherever you like, maybe together. That way the group is blending. So, and actually, I'm gonna leave too. I've got to go to my daughter's birthday party. But thank you so much for coming. Really, yeah. You guys all this recorded too. So, yeah.
Hi Becky, can you hear me?
Good luck with everything. What is it?
Hi Becky, can you hear me?
In March.
Oh. Let me hear.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Bailey, I'm using my laptop here, and let's see if I can increase the volume a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna learn a lot of different skills by starting small.
Right. Oh, that's so cool, Brian. I'm so excited for you. That's so exciting, girl.
I think that should help a little bit. You want to say something, Becky? Oh yeah, much better. Much better. And see, I can see you. Can you see me on my picture? Can you see me? No? Not yet.
So how did you get your like, how did you start that process, or how did you interview? How do you find this?
No, I don't think that's going to make a difference because you've got pretty good audio coming from you. Oh, you do? Yeah, then in that case it might make a difference because you might be picking up something from speakers.
Well, again, I actually graduated it's all about making sure that the message is properly tied, and you guys are willing to give your time. Heavily involved. My dad worked and joined a lot of organizations. I won some awards.
Nice little lunch, huh? I went next door to the tavern. Pretty good sandwich over there.
ALA annual, anything you can do to get yourself out there and get exposure is very important. Specifically, try to find out what kind of a library you'd like to work in. I feel that it's very specialized. People, those are the first thing they're going to want to know is what type of librarian you want to be. They are very specific. Also, your CV is everything. That is what sells you. Your transcript, very important.
Hi, Becky.
I had to do background checks. I had to show that my transcript was great.
coming through, kind of garbled. No, it's not working. Am I coming okay? How's my voice over there?